I think I just love trying all these different things and styles. And some of my favorite work is because I went against what I thought I needed to do.
Welcome back to Artist Date, the podcast for photographers and creatives who crave real conversations about the art and business of making a living doing what you love. I'm your host, Nicole Romanoff, and today's episode is one that's going to leave you feeling inspired to play, create, and stretch beyond the limits of your current style. I'm sitting down with the incredibly talented Laura Bainborough of Laura Joy Photography, who's not only a successful commercial and lifestyle photographer, but is also expanding into the world of creative direction and set design with her new venture, Gemini Productions. We talk about her journey into photography, the emotional pull that led her to the craft, and how she continues to flex her creative muscles through exercises that spark unexpected ideas. If you've ever felt boxed in by your own style or struggled to stay creatively fueled during the slow seasons, this conversation is for you. Let's dive in. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really, really excited to chat with you today.
I'm excited too. I'm really excited. And thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. I checked out your Instagram and just instantly fell in love. I love your style. You bring a lot of, it doesn't seem like you're a one-trick pony. Let's just say that. It seems like you can do it all. So I'm excited to chat with you today and learn how you got to be where you are today. So before we get started, maybe share a little bit about yourself. Just introduce yourself to our audience.
Sure. So my name is Laura Bainborough, and my middle name is Joy. So I went with Laura Joy Photography as my business. And I shoot commercial, lifestyle, and dabbling with fashion a little bit. I've had my business since full-time since 2016. So that's been really fun and successful, which has been great. Fell in love with photography when I was younger. I went traveling. And of course, I think a lot of people fall in love with photography when they're traveling. And I ended up going to school for photography, but I actually had I went into interior design and photography. I had decided that I wanted to do one of those two things. And I had actually accepted into interior design because I thought that that would make me more money or something. I don't know. And then I went to the school to see the final portfolios of all of the graduates that had just recently graduated from the photography program and the interior design program. And I just had the most insane sign I've ever had in my life, where I basically just started bawling my eyes out. And I went, oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong thing. I've accepted to interior design and I should be in photography. It's where I want to be. It's my passion. So I went to school for 2 years there and then graduated and worked for some other photographers while I was kind of building my own business. And then basically what was happening was I was working 7 days a week, full time at this studio, but then shooting on the weekends and the evenings. And I was kind of making about the same amount of money, weekends, evenings, and working my butt off. And I went, okay, I think it's time to take the jump. So I started my full-time business in 2016.
That is quite the journey already. And what is it that really pulled you to photography? What was it that you really loved about it?
I remember one time I was looking through some images that my grandma had. She had passed away and there's all of these photos. And I had known my grandma to be a very serious person, very surly person. She was very funny and dry-witted, but kind of sad, to be honest. And I had seen all of these photos, and in these photos, she was full of life and it was fun. And she was obviously very much in love. And it was really interesting because I was oh, this opened a whole other person up to me. And I thought that's incredibly powerful that imagery can do that. And cross generationally. And I don't know, it's just, I find it really interesting that you can capture those emotions and keep them forever.
Absolutely. It's amazing how much of a story can be told through just one image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty powerful. What inspires you when you shoot?
I get inspired by a lot of different things. Definitely movies. I love movies. I think they're like the perfect art form. I get really inspired by eras. I love the idea of an era. I love that every era has a different feeling to it, a different style, a different energy. And I think just, of course, other photographers as well, like people who are just killing it in their industry and making it work.
Who are you feeling really inspired by in the photography industry right now?
I hope I don't screw his name up. David Burbank, I believe is his name. I really love, he does portraiture. I love his color tones. I think they're dreamy. And they're colorful, but muted at the same time. And I think he's in New York. And there's a Mexican photographer, and I'm totally going to screw his name up, but it's, I think Fer Juaristi, like Fer, and he's a wedding photographer. And I think he's just got the coolest style. It's really abstract. He like really plays with the couple. And I think he takes a lot of inspiration from paintings. Like his composition is really interesting. I don't know. I think he's a very cool photographer as well.
Yeah. So it sounds like you pull from a lot of different styles of photography.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good though. Yeah. I ran into this trap once where I felt very inspired by one photographer to the point where this was when I was first starting out. And as a word of warning to people that are just starting out, never try and replicate or copy somebody's work because they will see it. Even though you think like you're this small time, photographer and they're in New York, like living the dream, they will see it. So I remember I was feeling so inspired by this photographer. I wanted to do a shoot exactly like it. And I pretty much did. And then this photographer actually commented on the post being like, this looks a lot like the shoot that I did with so-and-so. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. And she taught me such a valuable lesson in how to credit and finding multiple sources for your imagery. So that was a big eye opener for me, not just to use one source, but to find multiple sources. And then that's kind of what makes you so unique as a photographer. So I'll never forget that moment. And I just my face just turns red whenever I think of that moment. So, oh gosh.
I understand that though. Like, I think sometimes you look at something and you almost take it as a challenge. Like, can I pull this off? Can I pull off this style kind of thing?
Totally. And she was really cool about it too. Like she's like, okay, yeah, I get that you're just starting out, but make sure to credit the original image. And I was like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Lesson learned.
Yeah. During COVID, I was bored and had too much creative energy, and I decided to do like a YouTube thing. And I was trying to mimic the styles of photographers just to kind of like learn the lesson that I could from that. And I did David LaChapelle as one. I don't know if you know him.
No, I'll have to look him up though.
He was probably bigger in like the early 2000s, and he did a lot of celebrity. There's like a very famous Paris Hilton picture. Like he did a lot of it's almost like kitsch, very, very colorful.
Yeah.
And I did one like in my bathroom because we couldn't go anywhere. Like we were locked down for COVID. And funnily enough, I just put it out there, and I got a message from like the studio being like, "Oh, we love this. We all had a great time watching this." And so you never know.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing how small the world feels when those moments happen. You're like, "What the heck? Like, we're living on the same planet? What do you mean?"
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It just really shrinks the world. It's amazing, and I guess we're so connected now, and all it takes is for that person to see their name pop up in a Google, alert. And they're like, oh, it's this. I'm going to watch this. So yeah. But as you said, it is like a challenge, right? Like, I feel like I learned so much from trying to like replicate that style. But if I do that again, I will definitely credit the person. Yeah. So tell me what kind of styles of photography you do.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I do quite a lot of different things. And it's funny because I know that's kind of contrary to what most people would say. I think most people would tell you, okay, you really have to niche down, find your niche in photography. And they're probably right, but I just love that my job is different every day. And
Hmm.
I think I would have a hard time if I was only doing one style of photography every day. I love the challenge that every day brings. If it's a new space that I have to kind of think about, whether
Mm,
it's like commercial or weddings or lifestyle. I'm also, like I said, I've run my own business for I guess it's almost 10 years now, and I think just having a diversified portfolio also kind of keeps my bills paid throughout the year,
right.
because there's obviously like ebbs and flows with different seasons. And, during the fall, you're going to have a lot of family and you're going to have a lot of weddings. And then during the summer, you have the weddings and commercial. So it kind of keeps me afloat, but I also really love it. So it's been good. But yeah, it's definitely, I think people look at my Instagram and go, oh, wow, there's a lot of different things here. And I know it's a blessing and a curse.
Well, I think that when people look at it, they probably like seeing the diversity. It seems like your style is really about like the end goal and bringing like also it's like a marriage of the client's vision and your vision together, right? And so they probably see your work and they're like, oh, I bet she could nail this.
I really appreciate you saying that, because I think that helps me put that into perspective a little, because that's how I
Yeah.
feel when I'm doing it. But I know to an outside perspective, I always wondered, how that came across. So I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah, of course. And I find that if I can speak for myself too, like I find that uh, it's okay to like be outside of the box sometimes from like I feel like I've talked about this before in the podcast of like we kind of do feel that pressure to have a certain style all the time. But sometimes we might be pulled to try something else and maybe like even a different edit, but it almost feels wrong. Like we stop ourselves, or at least for myself, I do. I'm like, no, this isn't my style. So I shouldn't do it. But at the same time, I'm not really being a true artist in a way because I'm not really playing into what I'm feeling. Like if I feel that an edit should be a certain way, but I also am like fighting this feeling that it's not really in, fitting in my style, quote unquote, then yeah, it can be challenging.
Yeah, I think, well, there's a couple reasons I think for that. I think one is, people are landing on your social media page. You kind of want to give them an idea right away of like, this is who I am, this is what I can provide, kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
think we're all very brand focused people typically.
Yeah.
Um, but I think I just struggle with that. I don't know if it's just ADD or what it is, but I love playing in different
Yeah.
moods and tones. And like you said, I really think about my client and what is essentially going to be presented on their end.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I try to kind of edit and shoot to the style of their branding versus.
Yeah. And good for you for leaning into, not doing what everyone else does and just focusing on one thing. Like, good for you. I really do think that. And you're
Oh,
making
thank
it
you.
work and you're doing a great job.
It's definitely a point of, like, I do get quite self-conscious about it sometimes.
Okay.
But it's nice to hear that feedback sometimes, because I do, I think I just love trying all these different things and
Hmm.
styles. And um, some of my favorite work is because I went against what I thought
Yeah.
I needed to do.
Yeah.
So,
It really reminds me of Marie Forleo. She always talks about multi-passionate entrepreneurs. And I loved that because I was also involved in dance for a long time and photography. And I felt like I wasn't like fitting the mold because I wasn't just doing one of those things, like I couldn't really call myself a dance teacher. I couldn't fully call myself a photographer. But when I heard her talk about a multi-passionate entrepreneur, I was like, oh, okay, no, that makes sense. And it's nice knowing that there's people out there that are doing, other things as well and not just doing the one thing, like putting pressure on ourselves to just be the one thing, I guess.
And I think that having other creative outlets will help you fill your cup for the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to, because as you know, our job is very creative, but it can deplete you. And I find if I do another creative thing, sometimes it makes me feel a lot more refreshed. So
Absolutely.
I can understand that. And I'm a big fan of dance as well. My portfolio for when I left school was all dancers, actually.
Actually, I was creeping on your Instagram earlier, and I was noticing the dance photos as well. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about these commercial campaigns that you've done, and I guess maybe first of all, how did you get them? So I know you've worked with, it was it KY Jelly?
Yeah.
And that one is just the one that's like standing out right now.
Yeah,
I was like, I wonder how that went. But there was also VEET. And what were some of the other ones that you've worked with?
Well, I recently did some shots for Bootlegger, which I know it's kind of a blast from the past to that one. But they, what they've done is they're hiring photographers kind of locally to where their stores are, and then having them go and photograph parts of the city that are kind of old or historical. And then what they did was they did these huge blow ups like throughout the change rooms and throughout the store and stuff. So that was kind of interesting.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And then so KY and VEET, I believe, are actually under the same brand, like same mother brand, I guess. And I was partnered with the marketing company there. So they had reached out and they were looking for some social media imagery. And so, yeah, we planned to shoot together and it was great. It was really fun.
What was the process like when you were working with, let's say, KY Jelly? Did they have a vision? Like, did they come to you and they were like, we want this, this, and this? Or was it more of a collaborative process?
I think it was both. They definitely had a tone, and obviously they had to stick to the branding. For that one, they had somebody who was doing art direction. So someone came and they had a kind of a bit of a shot list, and they came with this certain colors and backdrops and that kind of thing. So I was really kind of just playing the photographer role for that one. But I think one of my greatest strengths on set is that I can be creative and I can make suggestions confidently that I think would fit underneath their brand. So there was a couple of things that I went, oh, what if we did this? Or what if we pulled that out? And so it was collaborative on the day of.
Nice.
It was nice. It was really fun.
What was it like being on set? Was there a big team?
It wasn't a huge team. It was like just, models and the art director and an assistant, like just kind of a runner to help us with whatever. And we rented an Airbnb because we were, it sort of served the purpose. We actually did the KY Jelly and the VEET shoot back to back.
Oh,
so
okay.
we had rented like one Airbnb that would serve the purpose for both. Obviously, different clientele, different models. But we set up the product and everything. We did a big product shoot and then wrapped that up and then brought in the models and did more of a lifestyle kind of shoot. And yeah, it was relatively relaxed and fun. And we had lunch. It was great.
I love working on commercial projects. I love working with a team. I feel like everyone just kind of feeds off each other's energy and like the ideas just kind of snowball. So it's lots of fun. Do you have any projects up and coming?
I mean, I'm running my business, so I always have, a clientele that I'm kind of constantly working with. I have some projects coming up that I'm really excited to share for my, what I'm calling a twin company. So Gemini Productions, which is, I'm starting sort of a new area of creative direction and set building. So I have some things that I'm looking forward to releasing from there just to kind of showcase how my ideas start and snowball versus kind of
Yeah,
coming in at the end of a branding idea. Like now I can kind of go from the very top down. So I'm
that's
looking
really
forward to
cool.
sharing those. Yeah. I'm not going to say too much about it yet, but I will. I'm excited to share those in the future.
Tell me a little bit about art direction. There might be some people out there that don't really know fully what it is.
Yeah. So I think art direction obviously is coming in with a fully fledged idea, a full concept, and perhaps like a story that you're wanting to convey with these images. And obviously, you have the aesthetics of that as well. So, like a color palette or a feeling or reference points. I think photographers in general always do their own art direction on some level, right? We often come with like a Pinterest board put together or something. Um, what I'm looking to do is just go a little deeper with the concepts of it and come and hopefully grab a client before we just show up on the day, if that makes sense. Like having meetings beforehand, really talking through what they want to say with these images, and hopefully saying something a little bit different than what they maybe their go-to would have been, if that makes sense. Like maybe something a little bit that would stand out a little bit more for them.
Yeah, for sure. And then clients would be, would you say mostly commercial clients for that would hire art directors?
Yeah, I think that it would be mostly commercial, but I think that a lot of small to medium sized businesses could also really benefit from art direction. I think that's sort of where I'm looking at right now is to kind of infiltrate the small to medium sized business and let them know that they have other options than just kind of copying what they're seeing. You
Mm,
could be kind of a taste maker a little bit
right.
with your imagery.
When I think of art direction, I really think about, like, I do think about the color palette, but I really think about like the backdrop. Is that like, are you kind of creating a world that this photo takes place in?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do with the Gemini Productions is I love, like you said, creating a world. I love creating a set and um, building it kind of from the ground up to make the image just pop a little bit more, look a little bit more interesting.
Are there any specific shoots that you really aspire to, or that you wish that you had maybe done the art direction for?
I won't say that I wish I had done someone else's idea, but I definitely am looking to. One of my big passions is sustainability.
Mm.
And I would love to do an art directed shoot that highlights like sustainable fashion. And I think one of my big goals would be maybe doing like an editorial and art direct that. I haven't quite fully formed that idea, but I think that would be a really interesting project. And I love art directing fashion shoots in general. So I think that that could be a really interesting one.
Yeah. Do you have
And
any clients in mind?
I do. I do.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, I have, again, something that I'm looking forward to sharing in the future. I've reached out to some people and I actually did a bit of a pitch kind of thing for something that's kind of similar. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But it's in the planning stages right now. So I don't want to,
Oh, I'm so
to
curious. I have to
yeah,
stay tuned. So, would it be your goal to do both the art direction and the photography for clients?
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be, I think, the ultimate goal. I like that I have the room to be with other photographers with the art direction, so that it doesn't always come down on me. But I do think it's easier for me to bring together the vision if it started in my brain. It can end kind of. I can execute it probably a little bit clearer
Yeah.
because the idea has seeded from me, and now I can make it
Right.
blossom.
Yeah. How do you get your ideas? Do you have any sort of like practices or exercises that you do to kind of stimulate the creativity?
Yeah, I definitely feel that creativity is a muscle that needs to constantly be worked out. With photography, I feel very confident, kind of going day of being creative, but with the creative direction, that's sort of like I said, a new venture. So it's sort of a new muscle that I'm trying to work out. So what I've been doing lately is a few little exercises just to kind of get my brain working in more of like almost thinking about things in a campaign, if that makes sense. So one thing I'll do is I'll just kind of mindlessly scroll Instagram. And if I see a brand or a service or even a product, I'll go, okay, so I'll look at the Instagram and I'll kind of go through, I'll get a general sense of what I think they're trying to convey. And then what I will do is I will basically create like a mood board and a concept and a story that I think would work really well for that brand. And I'll design the set and I'll think of what the final imagery would look like for that brand or service. I'll just do that just to kind of get my brain thinking that way. And then another one that I do that's a little bit more abstract, but I found it's actually weirdly challenging is I'll go on like a random palette generator online. And then, so I'll say, okay, I'm going to click it 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then it will give me a palette. And I go, okay, what kind of image would I use this palette for? Like, how could I create an image that incorporates this palette? Which doesn't seem hard, but it actually is if you're a photographer that's used to working with a certain like palette of colors. Sometimes it'll give you something that you're like, oh, I would never choose these.
Yeah.
So that's been interesting because then like I said, I get very inspired by eras. So for example, if I look at a palette, I go, okay, this reminds me of this era. How would I do that? Would I create a set in this era? And I basically would sketch out an idea of what I would want the final image to look like. And then I've also kind of to take it a step further, what I've been doing is like I can give you like a walkthrough if you'd be interested.
Let's hear it.
One of them that I did. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had clicked the palette, and then the palette colors that were given to me were like a very deep purple and green, very earthy, very like regal colors. So for whatever reason, I just went with my first thought, which was, this reminds me of a fig. I don't know why. That's just what popped in my head. Again, a creative exercise, so I'm just letting it kind of
flow.
So I went, okay, what do figs, like, what's interesting about figs? So I went down this rabbit hole where I was learning all of these things about figs. And I thought was interesting is that in a lot of art, figs represent sensuality and like fertility and that kind of thing. So I went, okay, well, what is a product that would also represent sensuality or something like that? So I was thinking about like lipstick or like stilettos or shoes or lingerie. So then what I did was I essentially like made up a campaign of a lipstick that was trying to showcase this like sexy lipstick color. And I drew out what the image would look like for a campaign for this like sexy lipstick with the sexy lighting and the palette that I had kind of worked off of. Again, it's a fake campaign, but it kind of just was like my creative process of getting to that point and how I would create an image kind of out of nothing. Yeah.
Do you do this for every project that you do?
Well, my hope is that I can do this more because like I said, I really love that I can kind of come up with the idea. I think with my photography business, a lot of times people come to me with the idea that is already cemented. And they go, can you deliver this idea? And I say, yes, I can. Absolutely. With the creative direction and, like I said, merging the creative direction and the photography is kind of what I'm hoping to do going forward so that I can provide people with a lot more impactful and a lot more surprising imagery, I think. A lot more interesting imagery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to try that for my next like creative shoot that I do, which I'm hoping is next week. I'll let
Oh
you know
yeah.
how it goes. Yeah.
Are you willing to share what it is or?
Um, I feel inspired for this shoot to like have someone make like giant flowers and maybe wear them as like a hat, or and then the model will be wearing like a really sleek dress and almost like looking like this and creating poses where the model is almost like the stem of the flower. Um, that's kind of what I'm visualizing right now, but still have to create that mood board. So
Yeah. I love
see how
that
it
though.
goes. But I like the concept of it, and I think it would kind of work for spring. And I feel
Mhm.
like it's been a while. I've been battling some major burnout the last few months. So now I actually feel like now that it's spring and I'm starting to feel like recharged with creativity, and I'm really excited to lean into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I find that with the sun comes
Yes,
creativity. I think everyone, like you said, everyone comes back to life a little.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
The longer days makes a big difference. Like waking up
Mhm.
to the sun versus darkness is it's a yeah, a big game changer when it comes to energy, at least for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same. It's funny because I think oftentimes it's, after Christmas and in that time, it's kind of a slower time for photographers often. So it's a really
Mhm.
good time to play, but sometimes you don't feel as inspired, right?
Yeah,
Which I think is why it's good to just kind of push yourself and try and keep building that creative muscle in that time. But it can be
totally.
hard.
Are there any books that you're reading right now about creativity?
I just ordered a book from Maris Jones, and it's called Unlock Your Aesthetic. And I'm really excited to dive into that one. I haven't gotten that far into it, but she's actually the set designer for, well, she's done a couple sets for Chapel Rhone. So she did, um, Chapel Rhone has kind of an iconic apple that she spun in, and she just did one for SNL. And she inspires me because I think she just lets her creativity fly. She builds sets at home. She has kind of a fun, like do it yourself aesthetic, but she's really leaned into it. And I think that's really interesting that she's found this cool niche for herself. So I'm looking to not necessarily copy her, but just I look to her as an inspiration of what you can do with set building and creative direction.
Totally. Do you know if she did the Grammy set? Like with that big horse?
Potentially. I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure, but I know she did the one, like the big jamboree one on SNL. She did that.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and then there was the one where at Chapel Roan she was dressed up as the Statue of Liberty and she came out in the big like apple and she spun. I think they built that. And
Right.
there's an interview with her on Architectural Digest where she talks about that and she shows the studio that she's in and stuff. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you think that would be a goal for you to like get to that level and work with those types of artists?
I think so. I ultimately started this because I felt like I had so much more creative energy and I'm looking to really work with people who are excited about that and want to try different things and are looking to push the boundaries. So that would
Hmm.
definitely be a big goal of mine.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm in the greener stages of it, but I'm really looking forward to making those goals and
Yeah.
trying
I'm
to
excited
make
to
those
see where
connections.
you go too. Yeah. That's
Mhm.
awesome. So tell me, what are your big goals in the next 5 to 10 years? Where would you like to see yourself?
Well, I think, like I said, really building that the set design and creative direction merge with photography. I would love to be able to have that be a package that people are really excited to work with, you know,
Hmm.
having me do kind of everything. And um, I'm really looking to build it to a place where I feel like I could pitch to people and I could go to these high end campaigns and say, hey, this is my idea. This is how I think I could execute it. Um, and go from there. Like I said, these are big dreams, but I'm really definitely looking forward to dabbling more in that. And also, I have a huge passion for fashion photography, and I really want to keep pushing that as well.
Exploring that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Well, thank you so much for being with me today. Where can
Yes, thank
people
you.
get a hold of you and find you?
Yeah, so if you want to see just my photography, it is Laura Joy Photography on Instagram. And if you want to follow along with my creative direction and set design, it's Gemini with two eyes _ productions. And they're both linked to each other. So you should be able to find, if you find one, you should be able to find the other. And there on that Instagram is where I'm going to be posting the work of the set design and creative direction, as well as a lot of the behind the scenes of like the builds and, the set photos and how everybody comes together to create an image.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you
This
so
is
much for
great.
having me.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Artist Date. I hope Laura's story sparked something in you, whether it's the courage to explore new styles, pitch bigger clients, or lean into the creative callings that might not fit inside the box. You can find Laura's work at Laura Joy Photography on Instagram and follow along with her newest creative direction and set design venture at Gemini _ productions. I'll link everything in the show notes, so be sure to check it out. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd be so grateful if you shared it with a friend or took a moment to leave a rating and review. It helps more photographers and creatives like you find the show. Until next time, keep showing up, stay curious, and don't be afraid to follow your creative instincts.